Alrighty, well this is I guess the day 2 of the SLX rebuild, and I'm still kind of in diagnostic mode to see if this is really worth rebuilding. Yesterday I discovered when I was rotating the crank around that there is a bumping as you go around it. You can feel it in the shaft. It bumps over. Feels like when you're rubbing two magnets together that are opposite poles and they doom, doom. That's exactly how it feels. And so it's just kind of weird, and you know, posted on Green Hulk, and some people said that it might be the magnets on the flywheel. So the first thing I'm going to do before I go any further, I want to make sure that the bottom end of this thing is shot. I'm not sure I'm going to go through that. So I really don't want to put this much money into a ski. I'll find another one that's in better shape still, but you know, that way I can just sell the parts come springtime. But I don't know, I'm gonna take this off and see, and continue the tear down and see what's going on. I'd like to diagnose why it burned these two pistons. Also, I'm gonna do a check to see exactly if it's an index. And just, you know, by eyeballing it, it looks fairly close, but I gotta get this bumping thing to quit first. So anyway, I'm gonna take this off and pop that flywheel off and see what happens. All right, here's a real promising sign, and this is what you want to look at whenever you take these things apart. I can't tell you how many of these I get that are junked out, that they've got water lines in them and there's a lot of rust and so on and so forth. This one looks like it's never got any water in here, which is a very good thing. It's nice and clean. It looks original. There's no teeth missing on the flywheel. The Bendix is in good shape. One thing I noticed though is I found this little piece right here. Now this was not inside there, it was actually sitting down here before I took the cover off, and I just forgot to videotape it earlier. Looks like some type of keyway, and it is definitely snapped off. So I don't know if this is from something inside the hull. If anybody recognizes this, you know, let me know, because that's kind of scary. I mean, I don't see anything else on the engine where it could have come from, because it looks like a stainless steel piece or something. But anyway, so I'm going to grab my little puller and yank the flywheel off and look at the stator. All right, this is something that I've run into on cars rebuilding Chevy engines and stuff like that. Is sometimes the harmonic balancer, in this case the flywheel, is stuck on. They've got like a little compound that they put on from the factory. And when it sits there for 14 or 15 years, it gets really, just major stuck on there. So what I've done is I've torqued down the harmonic balancer puller really good. And you put the nut, let me be careful here. You want to put the nut back on about 5 or 6 threads, because when these things let go, they make a big old noise, and sometimes they can fly across the room. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of let this sit here for a little while. I'll come back every once in a while and torque it down a little bit more. I've also done a little bit of applying some heat to it. You don't want to do too much heat, because you'll actually melt the seals in the front on the crankshaft. So you just want to make sure that let it sit, and hopefully it'll come loose. I haven't had one not come loose since, but you know, there's always a first time for everything. So I'm going to let it sit for 15 or 20 minutes, come back out here and torque it down a little bit more and see when she pops. Finally, I got this thing off. It took 3.5 hours of just coming out here, putting a little more tension on it, tapping with my hammer. I used this light hammer. I hear a lot of people using big sledgehammers. All I did was lightly tap on the end, a little harder than that, but it's loose right now. And I applied a little bit of heat to the flywheel, and it's not a ton of heat. I can still pretty much touch it. It's probably 200 or 300 degrees. But you don't want to heat up too much to be able to do it. And what I did is I'd heat it up, let it sit, spray some penetrating oil, and then go from there. So, and then just now when I was tapping on it, bam, it popped loose, and it makes a bunch of noise. Sounds like a gun going off. So I'm gonna get these bolts out and take the flywheel off and see what we got. Boy, it's been a long time since I've seen one this clean. Look at the inside of that flywheel there. Just look at, I mean, it's gorgeous. There's no rust, there's no nothing. It's absolutely perfect. And guess what? The bumping that I was feeling was the stator. It is smooth as silk now. So I guess what it was doing is it's running over the magnets in here and causing it to bump over. So now we can go about testing. All right, everything still looks pretty darn good. I was looking in the intake holes here, And man, it's nice and oily. There's no water in here whatsoever, which is what I was kind of afraid of, which kind of rules out the whole possibility of a hydrolock situation. What I did to kind of just double check our indexes, you can see where the center goes up and it hits the top dead center. You want to try to find that where it is exactly on the center line, and then you look at the pistons. It's so hard exactly on the center line without all the special tools that you need. But let's see right there. Just yeah, those things are dead on. I mean, if you watch the piston, you watch it when it comes up. Okay, so we're going to start when it's down. See, it comes up, it hits it, and then a little turning, and it starts going back down. So what you want to do is you want to be in between, right about there. Well, just top, down, top. It's just, man, I swear this is perfect. Those pistons are very, very close. What I'm looking at is this little light, this little deal down in there, how close they are to each other. For the exhaust port, yeah, I think we're good. I really do. I mean, it's so close. So close. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take off the jugs and then look down inside the crankcase to see, you know, kind of what's up, and then dump all the. This thing has a lot of oil down inside of it. Or I say oil and gas mix, which I guess is good. There's no rust or anything like that. You just blowtorch these things, which there's probably some molten aluminum down in there, but I don't feel anything grinding. So anyway, moving on. Well, the teardown continues, and it just keeps looking good, which I'm encouraged that this is just a top end job. I checked the reeds. All the reeds are in beautiful shape, no chips or damage whatsoever. A lot of times I get these skis in here and they're just covered in mud and everything. These are really, really clean. I mean, this engine is in a really good shape, and I'm betting when I tear into those carburetors, I'm going to find clogged fuel filters or something like that, so that would cause the PTO and the mag to melt down. But you know, I was looking down inside here. I inspected all the journals. Usually you see like filings and stuff floating in the oil. I just don't see that. The case sides look good. All the crank, I forget what you call those things. Those all look good. I don't see any scarring whatsoever. I see a little bit on this one right here, but it seems to be on the identical side on this one over here. I wonder if that just has to do with how they're kind of rounded or something. I see that a lot in these, but that could be where some stuff went through there. But you know, it's. It just looks so good. I mean, it's so clean. And so before I go splitting the cases on this thing, like I did with that guy right there, that one had a melted mag piston because it had the old fuel pump that went bad. All I did was a top end kit that basically converted it over to premix, and then, you know, dumped out the crankcase, sprayed it with carb cleaner really good, cleaned it out really nice and neat. That's something I'm going to do with this. But, oh, nice little tip here for you. You see how zip ties right there? You don't want to lose your bearings. Run zip ties around those to hold them in place when you're doing cleaning and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm going to actually start kind of picking up a little bit here and then put those up on the bench and take them apart and see what I find on those. So I bet you my problem's going to be right there, because I don't see anything here that could be causing it other than an air leak in the cases or something like that, which I need to do a leak down test and figure out if it's got an air leak. But I don't know, I'm really leaning towards fuel being the problem here. I wish I'd have left the battery on or on long enough to be able to check the hours on that. I know they're not 100% accurate, but it still would be nice to see if, you know, possibly this looks like a really low hour ski. You know, everything in this is it's super clean, from the stator to, you know, the piston walls, everything. It just looks like it's never gone into. All has the factory Polaris gaskets and such. So Anyway, that's where I am now. So I think I'm going to pick up a little bit and put these carbs up on the bench and see what I can find. I don't know if you noticed or not, but the 95 SLX is gone. I sold it a couple of days ago on Craigslist. The guy wanted a winter project, so he wanted a good titled hull, and he actually bought a whole bunch of other parts from me too to kind of help build that one up. So it worked out for the better. All right, so here's the first bowl that I've taken apart. I guess you'd say bowl, it's where the diaphragm goes. And when I did, man, a ton of oil and gas water mixture, oil and gas came flowing out of there, and you can see how much is sitting right there. That's kind of interesting if you ask me. I didn't know that it sits that much in there. So I'm going to keep taking it apart and see, kind of maybe where we have an issue. I'm going to bet you it's on the filter on the other side. So, but that's one of them. Well, I think I might have found the problem, or actually, I know what caused it. Okay, so we're talking, I want to say this is PTO and this is mag, or either or, it doesn't matter. These are the two carburetors that the pistons burned holes in. Both of those bowls were full of oil. I mean, full of it. I opened this one and it flowed out all over the bench, all over the floor. Same thing with this one. This one had fuel in it. This is the center one, which actually is running nice and perfect. I mean, the wash pattern, here's the wash pattern on the center. If I'm not mistaken, that's pretty nice. So that one apparently is working fine. Those are not. So I can at least probably rest assured that it is not going to be air leak or out of index or something like that. It just was like lack of maintenance. Let's see here. These things seem to have some grit and grime. Oh, yeah, they sure do. They got dirt in there. Yep, I bet you $100 when I take all that apart, it's going to be nasty on the other side. So I'm kind of at a loss here. I've taken all the backs of these off, and each one of these little screens are perfectly clean. There's nothing inside of them whatsoever, so they're not blocked. There's fuel in here. Now, the fuel smells stale. It doesn't smell like it's really any good, but it's just really weird. I guess the hunt goes on to see what in the world caused this thing to melt down the PTO and the mag cylinder. We've ruled out index. And on the other side of these carburetors, it looked kind of funny because it looked like they were loaded up on oil. Now, another thing that could have been caused from is that once those things melted down, somebody cranking it over, maybe it's not sucking the oil or the mixture out of the bowl on the other side. So I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss here. I don't understand why these PTO and the mag would have melted down. But they have pools of oil in each one of the ones that melted down, and then just standard fuel or oil fuel mix, in that one. The only thing I can think of is it is an air leak, and whenever those melted down, this was still pumping oil into it because the oil pump runs off of the crank, and basically just loaded these carburetors up. So I don't know, but I need to figure out why they melted down in the first place. That's the key thing right now. There was no water in the crankcase. No indications that it was hydrolocked. I just don't know. I'm stuck. I'm in a standstill right now.